His blueprint is of course obtainable from doing that weird Mask of the Revenant quest that Nakak has on Cetus. It's a very small quest, it just explains why he's the Eidolon frame and why he has Eidolon powers. I've already kind of covered that, I'm not going back into it. Or you can buy him with platinum for 325 platinum, his abilities do look pretty good. But a lot of people pulled me on the fact that I said Frost has 300, I think Rhino does as well. Rhino has 180. I also showed that later on. But Frost does in fact have 300, so yeah. It turns out by being wrong I was actually right, but yes, I also kept calling that a Grakata, but I also mentioned seconds later that I don't know why I'm doing that, I know damn well that's a Galatine. But once you have suffered through doing that little mini quest, which was a little bit of fun, and then it's actually something weird, like 15 intact sentient cores and 3 neural sensors for his neuroptics to build it, 3 morphics and 10 intact sentinel cores. Wow. For the chassis, there's also some iridite in there as well, and 3 cetus wisps for making the systems at 12 hours apiece. This is probably... People complained about Vauban and the fact that he used Nightingale extract. Yeah, that's 25 intact sentient cores. I know they're just the things that drop from the little guys and you can get that fairly easily, but you have to farm Eidolons to get the parts to build this guy. He is not cheap in the slightest to build. But luckily does come with a V and a D and the dash. His abilities are actually kind of weird. His first one will allow you to take, basically mind control a few people, and this will actually spread. As you can see, 4 people, it's kind of spreading between them, and they're also all getting attacked by the other ones, leaving me to just kind of stand here and do nothing. It's not spreading as you would expect though. I thought this spread a lot more than this. It's being a little bit weird, but when those enemies do die, they will leave a pillar of light. In this case, it's purple. And that thing's also kind of weird. It will damage any enemy that walks through it, which can be great if you can get that in just the right position, but mind control, it works wonders, but sadly is on a timer, and as you can see, kind of spamming it here, it only took 4 enemies, and then from there it's just kind of got to spread, but it doesn't take over all of them. That limitation there, you've got to be aware of that, or it can really bite you in the butt. The Memsa skin, his second ability, is kind of weird. It works on a stack. As you can see, every time I'm hit by an enemy, it kind of stuns them, but it does use that stack to do that, which means it will expire fairly quickly. And the stun, of course, wears off fairly quickly as well, but it also has a chance of reflecting the damage that is dealt back at the enemy that is actually dealing it. So they're referring to this as kind of a tanky ability because it has a chance to reflect it, but the most useful side of this that I can honestly say I've seen so far is the fact that it just puts the enemy that hits you to sleep. And then of course you just use the 4th ability and clear the room. His 3rd ability of course allows you to steal health and shields from any enemy you pass through, as long as you don't fly off the map when using it. And it also gets you quite a distance fairly quickly, and honestly that does seem to be the best aspect for this. See, 6. That would have been 7. So that first ability definitely spreads. It's just fairly hard to see without that weird thing floating above the heads. And combining the first ability, Enthrall, the second being Mesma skin, not Memsa, Mesma, and Reeve, the 3rd ability, combining those 3 together can work really well for you. But with this frame, it seems that the Dance Macabre, his 4th ability, probably his party piece, both visually and This thing works really weird and it's great for crowd control, but it changes the way that it deals in elemental damage on enemies. It'll use corrosive against Grenier, magnetic against Corpus, and so forth for infected, and obviously other enemies. The sentients are going to be interesting because they actually become immune. So this against the sentients, this frame definitely seems to me as if it was aimed towards that. But honestly, my favourite part of this frame, the fourth ability is great and all, but my favourite part for the crowd control is that. His passive is amazing. If you can get a little bit of shields back and then boom, all fall down. A little bit of shields, boom, they all fall down. Every time his shields get depleted, it will deal a shockwave that knocks all the enemies over, and you can have very little shields. You just need to have one shield and this thing will knock them all over, and it is very, very effective. And this is just one of the weirdest frames. I'm hearing a lot of people say, oh yes, that Dance Macabre is kind of a weird ability and it's probably going to be changed, and honestly that's a little bit I should have showed earlier. Taking on the sentience, it's not as overpowered as you would think. Yes, it kind of learns what elemental it needs to be doing to what enemy type, but it's not that amazing. It's just great for crowd control, and if you do mod him more towards strength and range, it will deal a lot more damage, but this can be said for a lot of other frames as well, so I don't see why they would need to change this because it works as it's supposed to. If they do change it, it will probably be the range, but if you have a look at the actual stats, the range is 0.1 meters for that fourth ability, so even putting range on, it's not an amazingly wide radius to it to begin with. The best part of it is if you hold down the trigger, you will use up more power, but you will deal more damage. It does 1250 damage unmodded, but the boosted damage is 2500, so it actually does twice the damage. Throw some mods in there, you can easily get that to nearly 4000 boosted damage from near enough 2000. It literally doubles the damage by boosting, but of course doing this also increases the damage you use per second, which is where the massive downsides come on frames like this. His fourth ability is a drain ability, I think they call it. It uses energy over time, but if you do come across an enemy that you can't put to sleep using the Mesmer skin, it actually doesn't affect the stack at all, by the way. I should have mentioned that at the time, but I kind of just remembered that while talking about the way that it works. I think it's called a drain ability. No, that still doesn't sound right. And honestly, if you do want to master this frame, strength mods work on the first, second and fourth ability, duration mods work on all four, range only really works on the fourth ability though, not that well, and the first ability, so really concentrating on duration mods like primed continuity and that, is it Constitution? Has the knockdown recovery and added duration. You can also go narrow-minded with this. In all honesty, there is so many different ways to mod him. Forming another dash and another V on there, well, a single dash and another V because he comes with a V and a D, would probably be the way to go, but how you build him just completely depends on how you actually use him, but duration and strength probably the way to go. Kind of lived up to the hype and wasn't as bad as he could possibly have been, and this is where gotta kind of cross your fingers and hope that everybody's saying, oh yes, he's too powerful. He's not. You can mod him to be powerful, but his abilities aren't overpowered at all. They just work really well in that fourth, having the corrosive against armored enemies, magnetic against shielded, gas against infested flesh. That whole system, when working correctly, is what makes him a really good frame. But we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.